Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick. So this is the first time that I have had the energy to sit down at the microphone and talk about anything. If any of you listened to last week's episode, you know that one of my very, very dear friends, Dr. Bobby Vormans, died a week and a half ago, which, you know, geez, very inconvenient, Bobby. I love you, but like I was supposed to get some recordings done that week for the podcast and I was a puddle, so I had to cancel them all. And now here we are, Kirby being like, honey, we need a podcast. And I'm like, all right, I think I can do this because I found the funniest question ever to answer today. I was like, you know what? I can get out of bed and read that one and talk about that one because it's funny. Just you wait. There's a lot of curse words in it. Okay. So let's see. Housekeeping. So I need your opinions on a couple things. So first of all, we were at the fair this weekend, and so our kids really just loved these swings, you know, those giant swings where it lifts up and like kids, like if one of the chains broke, like your kid would just go launching through the air. Like I know every single mother listening goes like, oh yeah, I know exactly what ride you're talking about. And I've thought about that and had like terrifying anxiety about it the whole time. But my kids loved it. They went on it 4 times one night, and then 2 nights later we went back and they went on 3 more times. So the second to last time that they went on it, it's the last day of the fair, and the woman running the ride was the same woman who had been running it 2 days prior. So I felt really good that she obviously had mastered running this ride. And so the ride's 2 minutes long, and like about 1.5 minutes in, I turned to her and I go like, so how many times in a day does a kid puke on this thing? And she just goes, it depends. Today 3, yesterday 1, the day before that 2. And I was like, all right. Literally within 5 to 10 seconds of us being done talking about this, she goes, oh, we've got a puker. And a kid just puked, and she's like, ride's closed. Okay, so my question for you, in your opinion, do you think I caused that to happen by putting it out there? Like I basically manifested someone puking. So like my energy of thinking about puke, like spontaneously caused this poor, like, I don't know, what would I say, 12-year-old boy's stomach to, you know, eject vomit. Or my most prominent theory, that his stomach was already a gurgling. And I am so tapped in to energy that I puke was a thought flash in my head. And I thought to ask. Or 3, for all you lame people out there, absolute coincidence, neither A nor B. So we just love that. One more thing I do need your opinion on before we get into this question. I promise it's a good question. It's worth it. But I do need help, you guys. Okay, so for the last 2 weeks, so pre-Bobby, so I'm not saying that butterflies are Bobby visiting me. Okay, just listen. The question is if I get a butterfly tattoo, how much of a basic bitch does it make me? I did warn you earlier that there are a lot of swear words in this question we're going to read. So earmuffs to everyone in the car. So here's why. I have seen a gazillion monarch butterflies lately. We're talking somewhere in the realm of 20 to 40 a day. Now, it's summer. I'm not an idiot. Monarchs are probably everywhere. Kirby and I talked about, the idea of we talked about this years ago, where if I tell you, look out for elephants, be aware of elephants, you would probably notice elephants today. Not real elephants, unless you're going to the zoo, but you would all of a sudden notice advertisements and commercials, which are also advertisements, and social media, which is also advertisements. Like people with tattoos, people with charms, kids coming into the clinic with t-shirts. Okay, if I told you think about elephants, you would probably find 5 to 6 elephants today. I'm not so worried about that. So that's where I said I don't think that like there's something bizarre going on. But what I do think, the hippy dippy side of me, does think that right now I am needing a ton of extra emotional support. There's a lot of things going on. Don't worry, I'll tell you about it later. Well, I mean, you know some of it. And I feel like every time I see a monarch, what I have interpreted that, or like I am taking that as like just take a breath. Like it's like a universal reminder of like, hey, are you in your body right now? Are you breathing? And so it's been like a really comforting, supporting thing and like helping me reconnect to myself of like, where are you right now? Are you in your body? Take a breath. So I'm like, it'd be nice to have a tattoo. Well, okay. And also ever since I got my tattoo in February, I'm really like jonesing for that next tattoo. Are we allowed to say jonesing? What is the root of that? Does that have to do with Jonestown? Ugh, somebody help me. So again, scale of like 0 to 10, 10 being like, it's so basic, you can't do it. Like we're going to put pumpkin spice lattes at like an 8 here. If I got a really cool monarch butterfly tattoo, what would you rate it? Scale 0 to 10. Okay, you can send me a DM. Holy moly, let's get on with our lives and helping this woman today. I am going to change her name because she does threaten murder. Before we get to that, let's read the listener highlight. So this is from Brooke Boyer. And it says, I'm currently around episode 20, and your podcasts make me feel as if I'm sitting in the room with you having a conversation. That's what I love about it. Thank you for creating this amazing podcast to bring chiropractors together and get everyone talking. You're an inspiration to us future women chiropractors. Sincerely, Brooke. Thank you, Brooke. I really, really appreciate that. She attached that to a question that, gosh, I don't know. I don't think I've really, I know I haven't answered her specific question. Actually, no, I did. Yep. So her question was talking about why I don't adjust on day one. And you're welcome, Brooke. I answered that a few episodes ago. And hopefully it was a doozy and a good one. If you haven't listened and you are frustrated with your patient quality, I highly recommend going back and listening to whatever episode that was a month or two ago about why I don't adjust on day one. Okay, so let's get to our question, and then we're going to pray, and then we're going to talk. Okay, so what should we call this person? We're going to call this person Jamie. So it says, hey, Lauryn, at the end of last year, my associate of over 20 years screwed me over, opened a clinic down the road, stole my patient records, and cold called my patient base, resulting in my practice subtly halving in size. Bitch! 3 exclamation marks. So my first reaction, after plotting to kill her, was to just close my doors and find something else to do. After 6 months, okay, so insert here, Kirby told me that when you copy and paste something over, apostrophes will sometimes turn into like just a slur of asterisks and symbols and numbers. So it's really funny because the rest of her question here seems like she inserts a swear word. But apparently it's just an apostrophe, but it's way funnier. So I'm going to read it as curse word. So after 6 months, I, curse word, am still bitter and twisted and wonder if, curse word, I'm ever going to get over it. I fluctuate between just chucking it all in and then getting all fired up to build the business back up again. I feel, curse word, like I'm back where I was 20 years ago. And curse word, I'm not sure I have the energy to do it all again. Any advice? I know that, curse word, it's a big call. Feel free to throw in plenty of swear words. God knows I have. Your podcast rocks, BT dubs. See, isn't it funnier if we, yeah, you're right. Let's insert some curse words there. Okay, so before we get in, because first of all, Jamie, I really want to thank you for this question. And thank you for being patient in me answering it because, like I said, it was I read through probably 25 questions, and this was the only one that I had the strength to like be like, you know what? I can sit down and talk about that because this chick is my jam. Like, who wants to be friends with Jamie, by the way? I sure as shit don't want to be her enemy, that's for sure. Okay, so let's pray. Today, I do want to let you know, this isn't the prayer yet. I'm actually going to be doing a scripture reading. This is one of my favorite passages. I referenced it close to 100 episodes ago, probably, where I think the episode was titled There's a Season for Everything. And it came back into my life at Bobby's funeral. One of her daughters read this, and I was bawling. But I like it, and I'll tell you why after I read it. Okay, so this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I had to start reading faster during that because about 2-3 sentences in, reading it like poetically, I started to think in the back of my head, how the hell did you think this was a good idea reading this? So I just had to kind of go through it. I also have, this is one of my favorites, it's beautiful, right? It's also one of my favorites because like lots of different passages in the Bible, it really makes me laugh. Like there's one where like Jesus goes up to I think it's a fig tree, and like, I don't know what the fig tree did to Jesus, but like he shrivels it up. I forget exactly what happened, but it was one of those things where I came out after reading my Bible and I was like to Kirby, what the heck did that fig tree do to God? I also love, so beyond this passage being beautiful, I'm always curious when it's being read going like, hold up, a time to kill? Like, wait, can we reverse? A time to hate? A time for war? So one day I would love a very theologian pastor to talk about some of those parts of this scripture, because like some of them are easier, you know, a time to weep, a time to laugh. Yep. A time to mourn, a time to dance. We can get all that. But then it's like, hold up, a time to kill? A time to hate? They're like, are you sure Jesus said that? But this is why I picked it, because I think reading the question from Jamie, I think the time for war is over. So let's get into this. You said she left end of last year, and I cannot imagine how much anger you had. Actually, I take that back. I can. The reason your question resonated with me so much is I think that I have a superpower for like vengeance. I don't actually carry it out, but like I take things more personally than I think a majority of people, to the fact that I've looked this up and I forget what it's called. It has the word rejection in it. It's like rejection. I don't remember. It's some kind of like diagnosis where certain people, like it's normal to feel rejected. Okay. All humans feel rejected. That is, it comes from a tribal place of you don't want to be rejected from the tribe. You will die then. So that's innately in us. But some people struggle to let go of a grudge a little more than others. And it elicits like a visceral reaction out of us. Think like slitting tires, like Carrie Underwood style of like rejection, right? That's the country singer that like she beat the crap out of his car or something. Which, you know what? I feel like, when did it happen? Did it happen that day? That might be justified. Now, if it's 6 months later and Carrie's still beating up the car, Jamie, she might be more like us, and we just struggle a bit. So I definitely can resonate. Believe me that, like, when I read this, I was like, girl. So I think you have to move forward, right? And this is so much easier said than done, but a time for war and a time for hate is probably coming to an end. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to move you along your grief path faster. But I think that you cannot keep holding on to that negative energy while attaching to a newer energy, a lighter energy, a higher frequency, vibrational energy of love and abundance, right? Like that's what we're talking about. If you're talking about like the underlying thread of this question is financially, numbers wise, your clinic went down. And so you're in this thing of like, do I throw in the towel and go make money somewhere else, or do I build it up? And I have lots of thoughts on it. So first and foremost, just in case you don't want to wait until the end of your question, Jamie, how rude. No, I'm just kidding. Don't quit. Don't quit. Anybody who is like thinking of throwing in the towel, please don't quit. Please reach out to me. I will talk to you. I will devote a podcast episode to you. Like, do not quit. But you're exhausted. I mean, so if you've had an associate for 20 years, I mean, just doing math, you have to be mid-40s. And you could be older than that. I am 34. I'm going to be 35 this year. And I can already in this decade of my life, having only been doing this 10 years, totally relate to the exhaustion of like, oh my gosh, if you feel like you're starting over. So we have to let go of all of this. You will not be able to do this next phase in whatever God and the universe has planned for you in this next phase of your life. You will not have the energy at your age. Just kidding. That was an old person joke. You won't have the energy to carry that baggage of hate with you. I mean, I couldn't do it in my 30s, and I don't think it's healthy. Somebody in their 20s, they can carry around a lot more weight than we can. We have other things, So I feel like there's a lot coming out in this anger, and I think you need to do some deep diving into it. Are you embarrassed? Are you embarrassed that these people left you? Are you embarrassed that this associate left you? Are you embarrassed from a numbers standpoint? So like I have no idea how many people you were seeing. So we're just going to say, because you had an associate, let's say you were seeing 200 people a week. And now you're down to 100 a week. Like if you were at 200, how long had you attached to being a 200 a week associate or doctor? Sorry. How long had you attached your success and how good of a chiropractor you were based on what society, like especially the chiropractic society, has told you makes you a worthy chiropractor? This is like my life's journey. Of simultaneously, like, you know, we're all the best teachers of the demons that we deal with. These are my demons of like high volume practice. How many doctors do I have? Am I worthy enough? Am I worthy enough? Am I good enough to be accepted and called a good chiropractor? And maybe none of this is your issue, but somebody listening, it probably is. So, you know, I think you need to confront anything like that, where it's like, yeah, I feel embarrassed that if I go to a chiropractic conference and someone says, oh, how long you been in practice? And you're like, oh, I've been in practice 25 years. And they're like, great. How many people do you see? Because let's be honest, older chiropractors still do this. Like, I mean, younger do, but like that's the time that we were in. And if you've been in practice 20 plus years, this is what your entire career this is what you grew up in this career. I believe that the chiropractors that are graduating now and the new chiropractors are here to like help us break and shed a lot of that I don't know the word misogynistic, alpha, like just that level of qualifying and boxing people into like, okay, you got to the 300 benchmark, you're one step closer to, you know, whatever. I just think you need to confront any of that because you know what? Get rid of it. Get rid of it. You can let's talk about profitability, okay? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about it a little later, but like nobody's going around asking the questions of like, how profitable are you? Which even that, okay, that's a dumb question. Like God's like, really, Lauryn, that's the question you're going to say, you know, but like, guess what? I could give away adjustments for $10 a piece. And hire 4 more doctors. And I could go, I bet you I could easily get up to 800 to 1,000 people a week. And what the heck I would have no money. I would have no money at all. I would have a ton of stress. And yeah, so it's like, let's just, you know, there's different ways of looking at success. Also, like, how much freedom do you have? Like, nobody's asking, like, oh, you've been working 25 years? Like, how many days are you out of the office? That's fantastic, you know. So just start to crack open that can. You know, a lot of times the loss of numbers drives the ego. And I believe the ego, I don't think that, gosh, I really went off on a tangent I wasn't planning on, but I think it's important. It's definitely one of my soapboxes. You got me, Jamie. I don't think that any of the people asking questions to other chiropractors, oh, how many people you see? Are you a network with insurance? Blah, blah, blah. And they talk in this old-timey voice. I don't think they really care what your answers are. I think for the most part, people are just looking to validate themselves. You know, it's looking to go like, am I seeing more than you or less than you? And if you're seeing more than me, is there something wrong with me? Like, I don't know that anybody sits and really cares about what other people are doing. It's a lot about the insecurity of, are we good enough? So I think that there is a time for reflection. Maybe if you are a little bit past the anger, just start thinking about some of that. And what does this actually mean? Yes, let's move past what she did and start really reflecting on how you can grow. What's the opportunity here? Because if you are going to continue putting your energy into her and the hurt and the wrongfulness, like if you need to feel validated, I mean, I don't know her from Adam, but like, I'll tell you, that sucks. I'm assuming you had, like, even if you didn't have a contract that said, like, you can't solicit my patients, even if you didn't, like, you would hope that there would be respect and things like that. But, you know, who knows what her story is for sure, because I'm not going to piss you off. This is your question, but like, I can see devil's advocate, you know, going a whole bunch of different ways. So it is time for you to start gaining back some of your own energy for this next phase. All right. Second point here. let's just cut the crap. It is literally impossible for you to be exactly where you were 20 years ago. Okay? And if you're like, no, Lauryn, literally 20 years ago, I was seeing 100 people. And to date, I'm seeing 100 people. I'd be like, okay, that is earthly, like, that's just stuff. Those are just numbers that don't actually mean anything. Let's look at you, Jamie. Who are you right now? As a human? As a leader? As a doctor? Like, are you honestly telling me that you're the same doctor? You have not grown in wisdom or experience at all in 20 years. And I know for a fact you're going to be like, no, I have. Exactly. So cut the crap. You're not where you were 20 years ago. You have time right now to build exactly the next stage of what's going to work for you for the remainder of your career. And like, hopefully this goes until you're 70 and 80. I mean, you said she cold called everyone, and that sucks. But the people left behind, those are your homies. So she stole half of your patients. Did she call the other half? Like, because if she called everyone and you still have half your patients, you had half of your people going, no, I'm not going there. I'm sticking with Dr. Jamie. And I think when you're ready, it's time to stop mourning the loss of those people who jumped ship. Those weren't your people. I know you think they were your people. And this is a little bit of like tough love here, but like if they were so willing to leave with, if I had an associate steal my patient records, she doesn't need to steal my records in order to steal my patients. Honestly, who cares about records? If she sets up shop across the street from me, I'm going to lose the people that were her patients. They were yours by legality and whatever, but from an energetic standpoint, they weren't. And I think if they would have stayed, I think you would have had to waste and pour a lot more energy into keeping those people. They would have, they just wouldn't have been people who would have stuck around. That's hard. But I bet if you really reflect on who left, you're not super surprised. That would be my guess. So let's shift from anger and feeling rejected by those 100 patients who left, or 500 or whatever you're left, and try and look at the people and go don't think about it. I struggle with gratitude when it's in big, just be grateful for the 100 people you have. No, what I want you to do as an exercise is the next time you're in your clinic and you're adjusting a single person in front of you, I want you to think about your associate. We should have given the associate a name. Calling them at the end of last year and saying, hey, Sally, I want you to know I'm opening a clinic a mile away, and I would love if you left Dr. Jamie and came to me. I'm going to be cheaper. I'm going to be better. It's going to be great. I'm going to give out cotton candy at all appointments. And I want you to picture, while Sally is face down in front of you and you're adjusting her saying, no, I'm good. I'm going to stick with Jamie. I want, now, with this real person, imagining them going through that, does that start to bubble up a little bit of gratitude in you? I went through, like I said, I really struggle with gratitude. It's just it's not my thing. I'd like it to be my thing. But this was something, the most I ever felt grateful for patients was in the heat of the pandemic. Now for us in Wisconsin, oh gosh, it was it was obviously March, but then it re-hit in July, where we saw people canceling. And I just remember seeing parents bringing their children into our clinic and just like looking at them and thinking, I am so grateful that you trust me to be here right now. I am so grateful that you love chiropractic enough that you are willing to not listen to the freaking media telling you that you need to hoard up at home and don't expose your immune system and anything, and that you are here and you came and you trusted Blue Hills Chiropractic to, like, thank you. Thank you so much. And then, of course, all the gratitude feelings went away eventually. So work on that. So what to do next? I think you, first of all, please listen to what the universe is telling you. It is definitely my personality to go like, okay, so here's what you're going to do. And you'll get a little bit of it in here. But I think you need to listen to what is God and the spirit of the universe telling you. Like, what is that Christ-like energy telling you to do right now? Because perhaps this has highlighted that you haven't addressed some deeper issues of anger and ego and rejection and maybe you need to spend some more time on that. Maybe you're ready and you're just exhausted holding on to that hate and anger and feeling like you need to be validated. But you don't quite have the energy to like, woohoo, we're going to do this. Now, I have a feeling this is probably more where you're at. This is that rest and reflect where you actually you're not wasting as much energy on thinking about hating the associate and all the patients who left and like how much her clinic looks stupid from the outside. And she stole your pens. But more in that, like, what do I do now? What do I do now? I think the pause for reflection is appropriate. I think there is, if you haven't read the book, The Obstacle is the Way, Kirby tells me it's amazing. I feel like he brings it up so much that I don't need to read it because I love you, honey. But I get the gist. So basically, what's the opportunity? What's the learning moment here? Reflect back. Did you like having an associate? And maybe you liked having an associate for that stage of life, but I can tell you everything that I've built over the last 10 and a half years suddenly in my mind had fallen apart. All of my, systems and procedures didn't really fall apart, but like the people I put my trust in, if everybody just quit and left me, I wouldn't aim to rebuild the exact practice I have. Now, I love my practice, but building it was freaking exhausting. I don't know. I think I'd probably try something slightly different. Maybe not. Maybe. And the other reason, just side note here, the other reason that you think it's exhausting is because you're putting Earth timelines on things. So you are looking that it took you 20 years to get to that point. And so what you are doing is you're extrapolating out that it will take 20 years to get back to that point, or whatever timelines you're putting on it. And I need you to hear me, pay attention. That's a lie. That is 100% a lie. You could rebuild, I would guess, in 2 to 3 months, 6 months at most. Even if it took you because again, back to, are you the exact same person? No, you're not. You have wisdom. You have what works. A lot of those first time around things, they're learning lessons. Like, it took me 3 years to get to 300 people a week. I bet you if I moved to a different city, I wouldn't be surprised if I could get there in 6 to 8 months because I know all the systems that work. And I learned, it took me a long time to learn them. It took me 3 years because I was 25 years old and I had a baby. And so I had to do maternity leave and that set me back. So if If you do want to build the same practice you have, hell yeah, that means that you nailed it on the head the first time around. And please just let go of any timelines that you're like telling yourself it's going to take to redo that. But maybe you're like, you know what? I don't really want to have employees. They're exhausting. Maybe you don't ever want to work an associate. So then like, okay, or have an associate, like, let's talk profitability. So you're seeing half as many people. What is your body telling you? Are you in network with insurance? And you've always dreamed about being cash, but you were worried, like, guess what? You're going to hate this, but go back and listen to the Getting Out of Network with Insurance episode. Like, if you want to get out of network with insurance, this is actually your time. I know it seems like the worst time. You're going to say, like, are you joking? Jeopardize the patients I do have? Oh, there's a way to do it. Okay, I'm not saying do it overnight, but it is time for you to start looking at what kind of practice do I want until the day I die or the day you retire. I don't really know if I'll retire. We're going to stop talking about death. I don't know. But like, that's where I say like, damn, if I was 45 or 55, I wouldn't go like, all right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a practice that, has a, what's the opposite of profit? It costs me a whole bunch of money. I'm a business person. You all know that's a lie. It's Kirby. It costs me, hundreds of $1,000s just to break even a year. So therefore, in order for me to make any money, I have to see hundreds of patients a week. And it's like, well, what if I just like didn't have all these salaries? What if I didn't have a 2,500 square foot building? What if instead of charging $35 for 5 minutes, I charged $60 for 15? Like, I don't know. These, like, you can't do that if you are in network with insurance. I know. But like, these are the things. Have you wanted to incorporate more lactation? Like maybe you see a bunch of pregnant mamas and you've wanted to incorporate lactation. Now is that time to go like, yeah, I think I want that kind of practice. Maybe lactation would have never worked before, or, whatever it is for you. Like maybe it never would have worked in your previous practice because you didn't have the time. And how was that going to work with that system and procedure? And what room were you going to do it in? Like, this is that time. Me personally, I like myself a good old fresh coat of paint. Whether it is a literal move, if you own your building, you don't need to move, but maybe it's time to get re-excited about the space you practice in. Literally fresh flooring, fresh paint, get some, a new adjusting table, like whatever it is. I feel like when you're ready to start stepping out and going like, yeah, I'm gonna build my practice, build your sanctuary that makes you so happy. So happy to show up, because a part of this process is going to be falling back in love with the chiropractic thing. That's what's going to carry you out for the next few decades, is being in love with the space that you connect with people in. And, maybe there's just too many memories, too much of her stuff around. Get rid of it all. Do what you got to do, girl. So, really looking, what do I want? Do you want to practice less days? Can you see the same number of people you're seeing in half the number of days? Can you do it? Like maybe that freedom to pick up a surfing, like who knows? I don't know where you live. Maybe if you're not going to surf very many places, but like this is that time for reflection. Now, what will happen is there is a season for this reflection. And when you feel so inclined to start putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and start being re-excited about the people who are walking in your doors still, and be excited about the door you unlock every morning or 2 days a week or whatever you decide it is. about the conversations you start having in your practice, you are going to start to feel revitalized, and you are going to start to have clarity about this next phase. And once you have that clarity and you connect with where the universe and God is trying to lead you into that next stage of your life, I believe that the passion and energy will come back. But I feel like if you're not feeling energized by what's next, I think there's more work to be done. There's more reflection. There's more thought to be done. Inner work, obviously, and just on your practice to figure out, because that's the number one thing that the universe is trying to tell you. Like, if you are feeling that for years, I was so frustrated because I was just like, God, just tell me what is next. I know there's something. I can feel it on the horizon. But there was like this hand, this loving hand on my chest that was just kind of like saying, like, just hold up. You aren't there yet. And I was frustrated because I was like, I am ready. I have energy to do. You just tell me what it is. Is it write a book? Is it start of this? Is it do that? And it was just like, just hold up. It's not the right time yet. So only you know when, right now, instead of a loving hand on your chest telling you to like, just wait, you might feel like you have a grip around your heart on the inside. That is a sign that you're likely still holding on to a lot of that anger. So like, work on that stage. But it's okay if you're like, okay, it's not the grip. I've let go of the anger, but I still just haven't found what's next. That's okay. That is okay. Keep showing up. Start making some of these steps. Start, go to a seminar. Go, like, even if you go to a seminar and you walk away on Sunday and you're like, well, that was a bunch of horse shit. That's okay, because seeing what you don't want is going to shed, I tell this to students all this time, go practice, because there's just as much learning in what you don't want as what you do. But like, go to things, go get re-energized about practice, and figure out what the heck you want. Like, you are not too old to be starting over. Like, that is a lie. Like, I don't know how many success stories we need to hear about people in their 50s, people in their freaking 60s. Well, I don't know. In 60s, apparently you can collect Social Security. I don't know. Whatever. However old you are, like, you're not too old. That is just the universe telling you that you don't have what it takes to relive the last 20 years. And why would you? That's literally impossible. You are a different human. You have so much more wisdom, and you are here to do something different in this next stage. So when these feelings about, closing thoughts here, when these feelings bubble up of anger and you look back and you're really living in the past, basically when your head is in the past, Thich Nhat Hanh? I don't know. He's not a Han. He talks about in a book that I'm reading right now of like, look at it. Look at that feeling of like, oh, you were in the past right there. Smile at it and let it go. Say like, thank you. Like that's your brain trying to protect you or whatever. It's just replaying old footage, and just smile at it and go, thank you. I'm done with that. I'm into the next phase. So I love you. And girl, if we are ever at a seminar together, come up to me and be like, hey, I'm Dr. Jamie because I want to get margaritas with you. You sound like a hoot. For everybody else listening, I hope that, and okay, don't hate me, but associate listening who going, fuck, that was clearly me. Like, how many other whatever associates work for 20 years? Like, you don't need to reach out. I see you. I love you. I hope you're doing your next stage of life. I hate when people are like, everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that there are times that like this stuff just needs to happen. And when we're in it, we can't see through the tragedy and frustration of what God is trying to do. But like, I believe it. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot, share it on social media. That would be awesome. It is how more chiropractors find the show. If you have not taken a moment to write a review on whatever you're listening to, I would love that. Again, it helps more people find the show. If you want to submit a question, the easiest way to, or the most organized way to do that is to definitely go to our website, sheslays.podcast.com, and you'll see submit a question. That way you know it's not going to get lost. Now, a much riskier move, if you want to be a listener highlight or submit a question, is to send a DM. Not going to lie. Chances of it getting lost, especially like, with the number of DMs I get a day and like things like that, high, and my ADD, high risk factor there. About a 20% chance I will actually see it and remember it. So, but you know what? You can roll the dice. So until next week, She Slayers, thank you so much for being your outpouring of love and support for me. After last week's episode, you guys have been so kind and saying such nice things. This has definitely been a learning experience in how to show up in my best self for others when they are grieving. And yeah, it has been a journey. So I love you, and I will see you next week.